You have been watching an extended version of KCAL News as we continue to cover this historic day, the first former president to face federal charges. We welcome you to KCAL News at noon. This is a live look now outside the federal courthouse in Miami. Former President Trump arriving within the last hour as he faces a judge on dozens of felony charges related to his alleged mishandling of top secret documents.
Yeah, so the former president has surrendered to authorities and he's set to be arraigned right now. This is video of him arriving to the courthouse. So here's what we know right now. We know he's been booked. We know he's been arrested. So he is currently in federal custody.
He is facing 37 felony counts stemming from the classified documents recovered from his Mar-a-Lago home. KCAL News reporter Christian Benavides is live outside the federal courthouse in Miami. Christian, thank you for joining us.
Of course. Well, look, quite a historic day. We saw that the former president arrived just about 2 o'clock, as we were expecting, and he's been in there for about an hour now, and we know that that court hearing is scheduled for 3 p.m. Officials here said that they were, in fact, ready for whatever crowds may show up. City of Miami officials had said that they were prepared to handle anything from 5,000 people to upwards of 50,000 people, but those numbers just simply did not fan out. We know that about a couple hundred people are here. Former President Donald Trump arrived at the Miami courthouse to be arraigned on charges he mishandled government documents. Outside, protesters for and against the former president made their voices heard.
This whole country has been brainwashed from the biggest con, and he has a cult following now.
We're here to show Trump support because this guy here, Jack Smith, thinks that because he arrested Trump, that everybody gonna be scared to support him.
Special counsel Jack Smith arrived in Miami Monday evening. He alleges Trump illegally retained classified documents, storing them at his Mar-a-Lago home, and conspired to hide them from the government, who had subpoenaed Trump to get them back. The former president is expected to plead not guilty to the 37 counts.
They have one shot to block him from the White House, and make no mistake, their goal is to put him in prison. So it's time for battle.
Today's arraignment is expected to be quick. Then Trump plans to head back to his New Jersey golf club to rally with supporters and meet with campaign donors tonight. Trump's poll numbers have risen since his indictment, but some Republicans are expressing concern the case will hurt their chances of defeating President Biden.
For us to win the presidential race in 2024, we don't need to be distracted. We need to be focused on the future.
Trump says he will not quit, even if he's convicted. Amy and Chris, despite the numbers only being in the hundreds, you can hear them from all the way up here. To give you some perspective, we are about 10 floors up, about a block away from where all of this is happening. The main group of supporters that is currently congregated right in front of the federal courthouse, yet still we can hear them here. And that's because, as we mentioned, this is a group that is quite passionate, and they continue to back the former president.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and we talked to you earlier, and you mentioned how Miami police were ready for whether it was 5,000, 50,000 supporters. Obviously, Trump wanted people to come out there and support him. There's a few hundred people out there. Are things still pretty peaceful? Because we've talked about the supporters, and I know earlier in the day there were opponents, people who are against Donald Trump. What's that look like right now?
Well, look, there are always going to be some scuffles that break out between, and when I say scuffles, I mean, you know, people yelling at each other, because these are two groups that are equally passionate. I mean, I think if you look at a lot of voters as they were making that decision, just going back to 2020, they weren't necessarily voting for the Democratic candidate. They were voting against what was another Trump presidency. That was certainly the case for many voters that went out there. And I think, you know, the former president, Trump, he brings out heavy emotions in a lot of people on one side and another. And when you get those two groups mixing, you're going to see certain incidents. But most of this has been fairly peaceful from our vantage point. We haven't seen any sort of major scuffle that has broken out, or anywhere, or anything where there had to be a major police presence, where something that they had to do in a major sort of way where we would have noticed from our vantage point. And I mean, we can see directly into the crowd of supporters that's out there, the few hundred people that are out there, and the main thing, I think the main takeaway is that they are passionate. And some of the supporters that we spoke to yesterday at the Doral golf resort that belongs to Mr. Trump, they were telling me that despite not reading the indictment, they really didn't believe much of it. And it's truly hard for these supporters to reconcile what is on paper and what they feel they know about Mr. Trump.